Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launched this year on February 29th. Rebirth is the second game of this trilogy and has changed the whole story of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII Remake was very mixed for a lot of people. I was one who played the remake before the original game itself, and I thought it was amazing. But after playing the original game, it felt like, really? I put in 2.5 to 3 hours and I'm already leaving Midgard? Don't get me wrong, I loved the game and the Yuffie Intermission DLC, which I really liked, but there was still dissatisfaction that there was a lot more that could have been there in the remake. But...
And there it was! The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the exact opposite of Remake. The differences far exceed each other. Rebirth feels more like an RPG than it, by its vast regions, many explorations, and the feeling of wanting to search everything and feeling that exploration but feels so rewarding because of the things you can get by it. The more you explore, more of these points you get, and Chadley, a recurring character in the remake series, has an item shop of things you can get per region for fully completing the regions, which in exchange you can gain new materia that was added in Rebirth. God bless HP and MP Absorb. The new materia makes combat far better and more fun to try out new builds for characters and see how to demolish VR missions and story bosses and their hard mode variants. Materia setup is really important as they can help control the wave of battle much easier. Each character feels fun to play as each of them have their own strengths, such as Aerith. She can be built with the right materia and equipment such as Genji gloves to be an absolute nuke and make tough enemies a joke. The combat in this game in general is much more fluid and more enjoyable as the introduction of synergy skills and the skill tree makes combat far more advanced than the kind of Crystarium system from Final Fantasy XIII that they had for weapons in Remake. Rebirth had added 2 more playable characters in the main story, being Red 13 and Cait Sith. You could say Yuffie, but you could play as her in the Intermission DLC. She just has new attacks and skills in Rebirth, and probably is my favorite character to play as. Out of the new playable characters, Cait Sith will take a little while to grasp because of his strange but very unique playstyle. We all died in that yin and yang fight at least once, right? Oh, and the Cait Sith legendary bout? Final Fantasy VII's cast is definitely by far my favorite in the franchise, and Rebirth makes you really want to understand them even better. Throughout the game, you get chances to talk to them and give them responses, and based on them, they affect a new relationship system, which also affects who you get on the Golden Saucer Day. Each answer is different, and you can really grasp the type of person that they are. The game tries to make you care for their characters more, as they had added scenes in Chapter 13 where they go to the Temple of the Ancients, where the cast all face themselves and look back into the past. Red 13 with the evil experiments the Hojo had done to him. Tifa reliving the tragedy of Nibelheim and seeing her father pass again. Yuffie witnessing Sonon's death by Nero. Barrett with the passing of his wife Myrna and the destruction of Corel. Aerith with her mother Ifalna and the failure of being unable to save her. Just thinking of Aerith's backstory already makes me so upset. Each character is more fleshed out and even more likable than ever, especially because of the expressions and the fantastic voice actors behind them. For example, Yuffie is normally a funny and energetic character, but when something serious about Wutai or something like that happens, her voice sounds really emotional and you can't help but feel bad for her. The story has significantly changed and is not the FF7 that you knew at all, but more like a multiverse and a sequel, which will cause confusion at the start, but as it progresses, you'll understand it a bit more. As you play, there's Zack's interludes, which show what he's going through in his world, and how everything's kind of effed up. I'd say the only thing I wished was that you got to play as Zack in combat more in these interludes, because you only really fight as him in the beginning, fighting the Shinra soldiers and the final boss. The amount of extra content that Rebirth has to offer is mind-blowing. There's so many mini games. We have card games, Mario Kart, this awesome dolphin track, minecart, chocobo courses, you're a frog, Red 13 football, Clash Royale, these cactuar challenges, the iconic G-bike boxing, this robot thing, piano, this bullet hell, the QuickTime events and the play and the parade. There's a lot, okay? A lot. Even minigames that they brought back from the remake, such as the box breaking one. These minigames also having hard mode variants, which will probably make you not like them as much anymore, because they will drive you insane. And now I'm looking at the chocobo courses, man. But the amount of content this game has to offer exceeds all expectations. The combat VR missions will still take the most amount of time if you're a completionist. I'm not really one, but I had to do everything because of how much I love and adore this game. The VR missions are pretty okay until you reach the brutal and legendary bouts. Yeah, the names don't lie. These will take you a while. You'll need to grind materia a lot to get a build that will work great and effective against these absolutely ruthless challenges. It can be made easier with materia such as MP and HP absorb, but they still require a lot from the player to experiment and try to overcome the challenge. The worst brutal bout is definitely Rulers of the Outer Worlds, which made me cry because of how stupidly difficult it was, but I actually found out the Yuffie Brumal form spam by myself and was really impressed that it actually worked. I saw online that people already knew about this, but I'm really glad that I experimented and found this out. The legendary solo bouts are no joke at all, but after completing the solo party members, you unlock 2 more legendary bouts which are even harder than the rest of them. One with Zack and one with Sephiroth. They both have 10 rounds each and hold some of the hardest enemies in the game, and they can kill run and reset you from the beginning all the way down to round 1. Luckily, I did Zack's bout first try with the slither of HP remaining. Sephiroth's challenge was brutal and took me a while to get used to his character, but after learning how we can gain limit really fast with Pierce and how we can use this to pressure enemies, you can really understand how the flow of battle will work alongside skills and abilities he has to defeat these enemies. Odin is the prime challenge in both of these disgustingly hard challenges. The last round, your heart's pumping, and then Odin hits you with a Sun Tetsuken and wipes you, and you're back to the beginning. You need resistance to stand back up and get back in the challenge, but it's really worth it. It's definitely the greatest dopamine boost ever and probably the hardest thing I've done in a video game. It took me about 40 to 45 hours of grinding and finishing up the VR missions. I think that's as long as trying to 100% remake. It took me 163 hours to even get the platinum trophy for this game, and you can probably get it done a little faster with a guide, but about $70 for a game this big and vast with this much amount of content and probably the most engaging RPG story that I've ever played. This game is genuinely so life-changing, and I really can't wait for Square to release this final entry in the series. I think I heard about the final game almost done in the making or so, I've heard. And I really can't wait to see how they wrap this up.